Then we can try to generate a good intention by thinking, may us coming here together, become cause and conditions, to inspire us to take and renew our vows and to be able to keep them purely. And keeping the vows purely with the support of the vows, may we be able to develop the Bodhisattva mind. And those who have already developed, not diminish, but increase more and more. And Bodhisattva mind that is being supported by the wisdom and the practice of such as six perfections. May we be much more help and benefit to all sentient beings throughout on the path. And finally, may we be able to achieve fully enlightened state, the Buddhahood, so we can be not only benefit, but greatest benefit to each and every sentient beings. Okay. To the founder, the endowed, transcended, destroyer, the one gone beyond, the fourth destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect knowledge and conduct, Sugata, Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of God, human beings to you, the completely and fully awakened one. The endowed, transcended, destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subdue from the Shakya, I prostrate, make offering, go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcended, destroyer, the one gone beyond, the fourth destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect knowledge in good conduct. Sugata, Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of God and human beings. To you, the complete and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcended, the glorious conqueror, the subdue from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offering, go for it. To the founder, the endowed, transcended, destroy the one gone beyond the four, destroy the completely perfect, the fully awakened being, perfect knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, the Lord of the world, supreme God of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcended, the glorious conquerors, the subdue from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offering, go for refuge. 사시페기 중심에도 다리라 예대 상대신도 메대오와이 도근 나마다시 제파라쇼 이담 그루라 멘달라가니야 다야미. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By merits I create to listen to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodan Soge Sonam, Changju Bada. Dagi Shushe Be Sonam, Dola Penje Sangye Doba. Sangye Chodan Soge Sonam, Changju Bada Dani. Dagi Shushe Be Sonam, Dola Penje Sangye Doba. Again, welcome everyone. Again, thank you for joining today. And so we'll continue from last week that we were on Bodhisattva's vows. So last week we talked about the vows of wishing or aspiring Bodhisattva vows, and then we started the engaging Bodhisattva vows. And in terms of engaging Bodhisattva vows, there are 18 root vows. And in relation to that, we finished the first two vows. That is out of attachments to gain offering and admirations, either praising us, ourselves, and belittling others. And then out of miserliness, not sharing or not giving material help when someone asks, and when you have the capability to do that, or not sharing the Dharma again when you have, and out of again miserliness, not wanting to share your knowledge, experience. So those so we finished those first two engaging vows, and we went more detail what that means, because there's much more detail than what I just said, And then third one, having the grudges and not forgiving when someone apologize and ask for forgiveness. So that is the third. So here it says, not forgiving others by harboring grudges and holding it even when they apologize. So within that, again, like first two, there are two of them. One is not forgiving when someone apologizes and asks for forgiveness. The other ones is, still not letting go of your anger and still holding the grudges and resentment. And out of that grudges and resentment, then also sometimes, harming others. So in terms of the first one, in terms of harming others, due to someone's harm done to us, due to someone's harm done to us, then, because of anger, because of that anger, then sometimes we use harsh words to them, Even after using harsh words, we are still not satisfied, and still not satisfied because our anger is so strong. We are so overwhelmed by the anger, even after being harsh, and sometimes not only harsh, then sometimes we even use physical harm, such as beating them, physically hurting and harming them, not only verbally, even physically harming them, and that is because we have this strong, we haven't been able to let go of that grudges and that resentment, so not letting go of that, and not only that, out of that, then hurting and harming verbally, physically, so that is one, not letting go of the anger, not letting go of the resentment, the grudges, still holding on them. Because that is one of the biggest obstacles for the Bodhisattva mind, When you have that kind of anger and grudges and resentment and hateful feelings, that become a strong obstacle for our Bodhisattva to grow, Bodhisattva to diminish, Then the other one is, and in relation to that, in relation to that, also here Lama Tsongkhapa says, even though in some of the commentary, it doesn't clearly says whether the being has to be human being or not, but Lama Tsongkhapa, it has to be human beings. If you try to think so, not letting go of grudges, anger, and then kind of being hurting and harming them. So that the objects has to be human beings in order to have the downfall or breakdown of these vows for that. And then other ones, not forgiving, so again, another beings who has harmed us in the past, hurt and harm us, another being, another human being who has hurt and harmed us, now they understand the mistake they have done, the mistake they have created by hurting and harming, and sincerely from their heart, they're apologizing, asking for forgiveness. And not only asking for forgiveness and apologizing, but the way they ask for forgiveness and the way they apologize is done according to correctly the way it should be done, sincerely, and way according to Dharma, according to the way that culture or that place, and so they are sincerely feel bad about what they have done, acknowledge their mistake, and sincerely, truly from their heart, apologizing and asking for forgiveness. So it has to be that. If someone is not sincerely asking, then again, something's missing, Or even if they ask for forgiveness and apologize, if they don't do the way it should be done according to that culture or that time, and then again, there's another cause, another factor missing. But when all of them done in that way, sincerely ask, and then still, you don't let it, you don't forgive them. You don't forgive them, meaning that you don't let them. Forgiving means letting go of whatever anger, whatever grudges, whatever resentment you have. Forgiveness is more about letting go of that, because of, so not forgiving because of your resentment or grudges is still there, so not being able to let it go, keeping that, being overwhelmed by that. In terms of actions, when they ask for forgiveness, not listening to their apologize, not listening to them, and not accepting their apologize, not listening for their apologize and asking for forgiveness, and not listening and not forgiving because of your resentment and anger. So if you do that, then again, you break the vows. You break the vows, yeah. You break the vows. So again, like the first two, there are two, and here also two, Again, as I mentioned, forgiveness is, what forgiveness means is that you don't hold any hard feeling anymore, because of their actions, because of their behavior, because of their harmful action, hurtful action, that whatever we have been felt hurt and harmed, and because of that we have a hard feeling towards them, and not holding that hard feeling anymore and letting go of that hard feelings is what forgiveness means. Now you don't have any hard feeling anymore. You don't, it's not about saying, oh, I forgive you, it's not the word. Do you get it? I forgive you. It's not about that. It's letting go of that hard feeling. Whether you say word or not, if you are able to let go whatever hard feeling you have before, then you have forgiven that person. Even you don't say with a word. But even with the word you say, I forgive you, but still you have that feeling, hard feelings, harsh feelings, whatever, resentment, grudges, anger, then still you have not fully forgiven that person. Still you have not forgiven that person. And so forgiving is not holding that hard feeling. And so that is the second, the third vows. And the fourth one is abandoning the Mahayana scriptures, teachings, practices, or criticizing them. There's one of that, criticizing that. Within that, again, there is two. Just like first three, there are two here. Also, one is criticizing the Mahayana teachings, practice, scriptures. And second is, that you are you have a very delightfulness, a joyfulness in reading, studying non-dharma books, or not the dharma book. Maybe it is the opposite of the dharma. In Tibetan, it's a negative dharma or negative dharma. And being interested and joyfulness in negative dharma, and not only yourself that, but also encouraging others to do that, study and read that. So that is one of the things. And the negative dharma is something that is opposite of the dharma. That is, dharma is always encouraging about working with your mind, reducing the afflictive emotions. Whereas non-dharma, negative dharma, will be those things that encourage to have more delusions, encouraging delusion, where it says anger is positive, you need to develop anger, or attachment is positive, you need to have attachments, or teaching on that you need to have a selfish attitude, self-centeredness. If you don't have selfish attitude, self-centeredness, you will not be able to protect yourself. You will not be able to take care of yourself. Therefore, you need to have selfish attitude, self-centeredness, or you need to have attachment. If you don't have attachments, then you will not be able to enjoy your life. Attachment is necessary. Or you need to have anger in order to protect yourself from someone hurting you, harming you, taking advantage of you, or so and so on. Teachings or practice something that teach you the opposite of the Dharma. That means to cultivate and increase those afflictive emotions instead of encouraging and inspiring you to reduce and overcome those afflictive emotions. So not only you practice, not only you study and practice them yourself, but also encouraging others to do that. So if you do that, then that would be so. And in terms of the criticizing the Mahayana Dharma, here it says, it has to be the Mahayana teachings or practice that comprises the whole teachings, both wisdom and the method, If you criticize, and so the way you criticize here, and the way you abandon, and the way you criticize is saying, that teachings, that practice, or that teaching was not given by Buddha. That practice, that teaching was not given by Buddha. That wasn't taught by Buddha. That teachings or that practice wasn't taught by the Buddha. So criticizing or abandoning that way, saying that that teaching was not given by the Buddha, or Buddha didn't teach on that. That is how when you say the abandon and criticizing, the way it is criticized, the way it is abandoned with that way. And so if the teaching or practice that does not include both the general Mahayana teachings, which does not include both the wisdom and the method, if it is just one part of them, then, and if you criticize that in this way, then again, it is not completely breaking the vows itself. In order to break these vows, then it has to be a teaching that has both the wisdom and method, the general Mahayana, the general Mahayana scriptures or the teachings. If it is just one part of the Mahayana teachings, such as, let's say, the teaching that only explain, there are some teaching that, or scriptures or texts or sutra that only explain just the method, or some of them which just only just teach the wisdom. If you criticize that way, then of course you still kind of dilute the vows, but it is not the breaking of this downfall. It would be another, like in secondary vows, it would be secondary vows. But in terms of these root vows, then it has to be the criticizing teachings that has both the wisdom and method. Okay, so. So these are the 4 first root vows, and these are the vows that come through Asanga's, Changsa, the Bodhisattva Bhumi, his writing in that. So it's based on from root vows from his dad, and he's also, as I mentioned at the very beginning last week, the background, also those vows are again kind of rooted in some of the sutras, and then from different sutras, Asanga put together those. And so this can be 4 or 8. Each of them, it says in terms of the intentions is 4, because all of them have same intentions with each of them. But in terms of the actions, then it becomes 8. Praising one is one action, criticizing others or belittling is 2 different actions, even though it is out of the same motivations. And also not helping with the material well is one action, and not helping with the Dharma knowledge or wisdom is a different, but with the same motivation out of the miserliness, And again, not forgiving because of the strong grudges and resentment, or out of strong grudges and resentment, harming and hurting others with their harsh speech and physical actions, again in terms of, with the same motivations, is due to the grudges and resentment. But in terms of action, is 2 different actions. And same with this one, criticizing, it is due to the ignorance, it doesn't completely say exact motivations of the in here, what exactly motivation is. There is no clarity on that, unlike like others, but definitely is criticizing the Buddha's teachings or being interested in the non-dharma or negative dharma, interest joyfully and encouraging others. So I would think that would be the ignorance, the motivations. But again, I can't say for 100% sure, because in the commentary they don't exactly give what the exact motivation for that one. There's no clarity on that. Okay, so and then from the fifth one here, then these are the vows that come from Shantideva's the continuum of the training, and again they are based on different sutras, they are based on different sutras, yeah. And so again, there are quite different what they call discussions among some of the earlier Indian masters as well as Tibetan masters about the numbers of the vows, because depending on which you rely on, and so therefore that is why sometimes there is slightly different numbers, and here in terms of Lama Tsongkhapa, he relied mainly on Asangas and Shantidevas, and then taking from two of those sources, mainly from those two sources. And Asanga and Shantideva also, they take those sources from different sutra sources. Okay, so again, just to have better idea how those vows comes, in terms of that. Again, those vows are definitely in sutras, but they are not in one sutra. Okay, and so that is where the commentaries help us to compile together and make it easier for us, because if we had to find each of them in different sutra, we will have to read so many sutras. Each of sutra has, sometime 300, 400, 500, 600 pages. No. And so you might find some of the vows in one sutra, some of the vows in another sutra. So that is how they compile together, and that is how we made it easy for us, by those great masters, Indian masters as well as Tibetan masters here, Lama Tsongkhapa, Then the fourth one is, fifth one, sorry, taking back offering or stealing the offerings that has been offered to the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Here, Buddha means that it could be actual Buddha, okay, but also something that represent the Buddhas, that something that has been offered to us, such as, let's say, holy objects, statues, something that has been offered, dedicated for statues, and of course, or stupa, that represent Buddha's enlightened mind, so something that has been offered, something that has been dedicated for holy objects that represent the Buddha, or Dharma, something that has been dedicated, offered to produce, like Dharma books, for example. Dharma books scripture, or dharma in terms of realization, something that has been donated or dedicated or offered for realizations of practitioners through practitioner realization, someone who is helping to someone to through their practice and meditation to develop that the realization dharma within themselves, those. And in terms of the offering making to sangha, whether if it is an individual, then Arya Sangha, any beings who have that realization and emptiness, that become Arya Sangha. One, whoever that person's individual, anyone. So again, something that has been offered to any Sangha like Arya Sangha, or in terms of ordinary beings, meaning that who have not direct realizations, but where there is a community of 4 fully ordained beings, that is then, even they don't have realization and emptiness, but if there is a community or assembly of 4 ordained, then that becomes Sangha. And something that has been dedicated, something that has been offered to them. And so then, so kind of misusing them, misusing, stealing or taking, misusing for ourselves. So that is, so whether it has been any object that has been offered to all of them or each of them, when we take something that is offered to one of them, any of objects of 3 jewels, then that is the objects, and whatever object it can be, Lama Tsongkhapa said, even though there is no clarity in some of the earlier commentaries, but any object, it could be house, land, food, money, anything, anything that, any objects. In terms of how big the object has to be in order to have this downfall, then again, Lama Tsongkhapa says, even though again there's no clarity in those commentaries, but like in terms of our, whether it's ordained or lay vows, when we take the vows, 4 root vows, like stealing is one of them, and there is a lot of discussions about that, how do you have the downfall or defect by stealing anything, or it has to be certain values? And there's a lot of discussions among that. And, according to some, it has to be such that, the law of the country is that, so there is no law of country that it can be punished, which take your lives, that means it has to be a big one, but then there are some others different. So there is no so exactly clarity on that. But anyway, Lama Tsongkhapa is same like that, the root vows, And in terms of the motivations, then, the motivation has to be to misuse for oneself, misuse for oneself. Out of compassion, if you take something and give to someone, then it might not be the downfall here. The motivation has to be for yourself. Because if you do out of compassion, taking from there in order to help, in order to support someone, then again, it might, of course, still is not good, but still you don't have the downfall of totally breaking these vows. In order to totally break it has to be yourself, to use for yourself, for yourself. That has to be that. And in terms of the actions, you know, whether you steal yourself or you encourage or ask someone to steal for you, you know, again, whether it's true, you know, stealing, robbing, or scams, you know, like that. So here it says taking back offering to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, or taking them by robbery, vicious scams, using for your own purpose. So that is the motivation for your own purpose, material dedicated to the Sanghas, you know, dedicated to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, you know, any of them. So the motivation has to for your personal uses. And then, you know, the completion become when you feel it is mine, you know, when you feel mine. After, you know, you feel it is mine. So that is, I don't know, there is one question. Yisila, that's why pujas not talk afterwards. We recite the mantra if we eat the offering. I don't think it is to do with that. I don't know what mantra you are talking when you eat the offering.
Geshe-la?
Yeah.
Geshe-la, sorry, I think it's the Taita Idem, now I can't remember, Taita Idem Penny, sorry, I can't remember. Taita Idem, I think it's the one for pollution. I don't know. If I remember, I'll put it in the chat. I'm sorry.
It's the one that says mantra to stop the pollution of something is the title of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, yes.
I don't think that is something to do with this one, but yeah.
But Geshe-la,
Yes, please.
for instance, obviously, I can't imagine that it's a downfall to after a tsog offering or when tsog is offered out. That can't possibly be a downfall because it's being offered out. I'm not quite sure what my question is here, but it has been offered to the Triple Gem, and then we end up eating it and taking it home.
You know, that is kind of, it's like eating the food too, you know, when you offer and then we drink or we eat, you know, is we offer and then take it as blessing, you know. Mm-hmm. So that is not like something like when you are dedicated and offer other things completely for them, you know. So it is kind of like part of the talk, and that is that we offer them. And this talk is kind of, when you do the talk, is not only for them, it is for everyone who is gathered there, you know. So, and so, you know, that is, so even when we do that, we have portions that is offered to the Guru, or portion to that is offered to the marriage field, and then the portion that is being distributed, you know. And again, also you can think it's a blessing you because it is something else than, you know, like a food like that has been offered, you know, is going to get bad anyway. You know, you are going to throw it. You know, you can't live there forever. So, you know, so therefore it is kind of taking it as a blessing once you fall. So that is a different thing. It's just same like before we eat, before we drink, we do the offering, you know. Yeah. So otherwise, all this offering will also be same way, you know. Every time we eat, every time we drink, we try to make offering at the very beginning, and then we eat. So then that will be also same. That will then be downfall, you know. So it is not like that. Yeah. And then the sixth one, abandoning or despising or criticizing the Dharma. The Holy Dharma. So here the Holy Dharma, you know, means, you know, whether any of the teachings of the Mahayana teachings, you know, again, that any of the Mahayana teachings, Mahayana teachings that has the both wisdom and the method, or, you know, solidly realizes teachings that explain the, such as 12 links, or, you know, Hiriya teachings that explain the Four Noble Truth, you know. So any of those different teachings that Buddha gave according to the different sentient beings, their predispositions, their karma, according to that, the Buddha gave different teachings according to the different disciples, or different according to their state of mind and predispositions. So saying any of them is, again, you know, not taught by Buddha, you know, and criticizing in that way, you know, those teachings or practice, again, you know, by the Buddha himself, you know. So again, so previously it's just Mahayana, but now any of the three vehicle teachings, and again, each of those three vehicle teachings, where in each of those teachings, where their full path, each of them had their full path, you know, where it's all teaching are. And that the way you criticize is similar like that, you know, that it's not taught by the Buddha. So saying like that, you know, it's not taught by the Buddha. So that is, and so here again, if you have inclination to Tantra, criticizing Paramidayana, if you have inclined to the Mahayana, criticizing Hinayana, vice versa, you should not criticize the differences in the various teaching, because Buddha taught with skillful means in various ways to guide the disciple with a different disposition. This criticism is heavier than destroying all the stupa on the earth. So that is something that we have to be more careful, mindful, watchful, you know. Sometimes certain teachings, we don't feel connected, okay? Certain teachings, because of our predispositions, because our imprint from the past, because of our karma, because of our exposure or not being exposure, or because of, you know, our background, many different factors can influence us why that particular teaching we don't feel connected. Particular teaching that we don't feel connected, or any particular teaching that we might feel, you know, is not effective to us or suitable for us. And that is absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. Certain teaching will be suitable for you, and certain teaching might not be suitable for you. Certain teaching might, in practice, certain teaching and practice might be effective, helpful to you. Certain teaching and practice might not be effective and helpful to you. But that doesn't mean those teachings are not helpful, not benefit, or they are not effective. Something that is not effective to you, it could be very strongly effective to someone else. Someone who is not suitable to you, that will be absolutely suitable for someone else. Something that is not beneficial to you will be absolutely beneficial for someone else. And therefore, we shouldn't criticize based on whether it is suitable for us or not, whether we are able to connect ourselves or not. If it is not suitable for us, if it doesn't connect, we just, okay, maybe this is not something that I'm not connecting now. It's something that I don't find so helpful at the moment. And we just kind of, it's better if we just leave it with equanimity. Hopefully, maybe it might connect us in the futures. Hopefully, we might be able to be beneficial in the futures or not. But definitely, just because we don't feel connected doesn't mean those are not beneficial and helpful. On the basis of that, we shouldn't criticize, because it is a very, very negative, strong negative karma. Strong negative karma. It is like saying, for example, even in terms of our everyday life, there are so many things, people who have cancer, for example, for certain people, chemotherapy helps. Certain patients, it helped them. Some patients, maybe it might not help them. But just because it is not effectively helpful to you, you can't say it's not a good, because it is a good for certain people. It helps certain people to cure, even though it might not have been able to cure yourself. Whether it's radiations, whether it's chemotherapy, whether whatever different treatment there are. And because of our body, because of certain treatments, our body reacts differently due to our different immune system, due to different our body. So our different body responds differently for those different treatments. And certain treatment, our body might not respond well, but that doesn't mean that treatment is not helpful and beneficial, and we should stop that treatment, because it did save so many people. It did cure so many people. And that kind of attitude, we should have that kind of attitude also when it comes to the Dharma. Sometimes we can easily be kind of, very critical and easy to criticize just because one particular is not so suitable for ourselves. So that is something that we have to be, more aware, mindful. And even though it's not part of breaking the vows here, but even though it's not part of the breaking the vows here, but if we kind of expand this understanding further, then we shouldn't also criticize other spiritual paths. We shouldn't also criticize other spiritual paths. That logic also apply here too. Even though it is not part of breaking the root vow, but still the logic is same. Some of the spiritual path is not suitable to us. It's not suitable to us. We cannot connect with some of their views, some of their philosophy, some of their practice. Definitely we are unable to connect ourselves. It's not suitable for us. It doesn't help us, but that doesn't mean we have to criticize, because it helps so many people. As His Holiness always says, and not only His Holiness says, we can see that there are so many people who are very kind, compassionate by relying on their spiritual path. And some of them even more compassionate than us. Where does that come from? Their compassionate attitude come from their spiritual path. That was what helped them to be more compassionate. Some of them, they become very, very giving, very helping others, needy ones, poor ones. Again, where did that come from? That come from their spiritual path. It helped them to be a more kind person. It helped them to be more compassionate persons. And some of them very morally ethical. And again, being that moral ethical, it comes from their spiritual path. So therefore, all different spiritual paths, are helpful for different individuals with different mind. And so therefore, it's better not to criticize them. Not to criticize them. And being respectful, we don't have to practice ourselves because it's not kind of something that suits our minds, suits our way of thinking, suits our belief. So we don't have to practice, but at the same time, we don't have to criticize them because it does help and benefit many other beings. And so therefore, who knows, sometimes I wonder, even those different spiritual masters who have founded those different spiritual paths, there could be a Buddha, a Bodhisattvas, who came and then kind of promote or founded those different spiritual paths because suddenly people's predisposition, according to their predispositions, according to their imprint mind, because that is more suitable for them to guide, to become better person, more kind persons, and so forth. We cannot say for sure that those founders of each of those individual spiritual paths, they are not a Buddha or they are not Bodhisattvas. No one can say that. Unless you have a clairvoyance to see who they are clearly, So therefore, so we have to bring this understanding also towards that as well, And as it says, criticism is heavier than destroying all the stupas on the earth, And in some of the sutras, it has mentioned that, generally, destroying one holy object is very negative, strong negative karma, And then imagine if you destroy all the holy objects in the world, how much strong negative karma you create. And then, according to some of the sutras, if you take them literally, then the negative karma of, criticizing and abandoning the holy Dharma is even more, we create even more negative karma than destroying the whole stupas in the world, Unimaginable. It is hard for us to kind of, think and believe that, but definitely that has been mentioned in some of the sutras. So we have to be very, very mindful and careful, cautious, not to engage such actions and create such a heavy negative karma. And of course, breaking the vows, having a downfall, total breakdown, And so the next one, sixth harming and ordained persons, inflicting violence on them, stealing their robes, or causing them to lose their vows. So here the objects of breaking these vows is someone who has ordained, who have taken the vows, And whether that ordained one is, whether that person's live in a pure vows, or whether that person who have taken the vows but who are unable to live in pure vows because they have broken their vows, whatever, it doesn't matter. It says the object of that, it could be someone who is living in pure vows, or someone who is unable to live in pure vows, who have broken some of their vows, whatever, it doesn't matter, but the object is someone who have taken the vows, ordains, and harming them, and the motivation is to harm them. Okay, the motivation is to hurt and harm them. So afflictive is afflictive motivations. The motivation is to hurt, harm them, or harm one or many, so harm the objects, the motivation to hurt and harm. In terms of the actions, how we hurt and harm them, in terms of the actions, and so then this is the, some of the actions, taking away their robes, taking away their robes, stealing their robes, and inflicting violence on them, physically, verbally, and causing them to lose their vows, directly, indirectly, contributing, creating cause conditions, thereby causing them to give up their vows and lose their vows. So that's, and so that is the, when you do that, then you break these vows. Again, for okay. And then the eighth one, committing any of the 5 heinous actions. Sometimes it is called uninterrupted, 5 uninterrupting negative karma or actions. So that is killing your parent, like father and mother, killing arhat, dividing the sangha, and then, or this, and then to wound a Buddha, trying to hurt and harm Buddha and wound the Buddha. So those are the, it's called, sometimes it is called, whether it's called heinous, 5 heinous actions, or in Tibetan, sometimes it's called uninterrupting, 5 uninterrupting negative karma or actions. Because if you don't purify, immediately next rebirth is going to be one of the lower rebirth without any interruptions by other lives. With other negative karma, it can be interrupted at many lifetimes. You can experience the result of that after 100 lifetimes, 1,000 lifetimes, 100,000 lifetimes, millions of lifetimes. But when you engage in one of these negative actions, and if you don't purify, then without any other interruption between the life, this life and next, without any interruption, like next, you will definitely have to be born in one of the lower rebirth. So that is why it is called uninterrupted negative karma. So it's one of the heaviest negative karma as well. And again, those are those are very heavy negative karma, because of in relation to the objects with a different, in relation to different, in terms of our parent, because of our special connection, karmic connections, and their kindness to us. Among all the, even though we get so much kindness and help and benefit from others in our life, so many different peoples that who have been very kind to us at different stages of our life, our teachers, our friends, throughout, sometimes as strangers, our colleagues, so many people we encounter in our life who have been who have shown kindness, who have been very kind, caring, loving, helpful, supportive at different stages of our life. But among all of them, the most kind, who have given so much, is our parent. They are the one, especially when you are growing up, when we were very dependent on them, until we are able to be on our own feet. Until we are able to be on feet, without their kindness, without their compassions, we would not have made it where we have made it now. We wouldn't have survived. We wouldn't have survived at all. Because there's no way we could take care of ourselves. We could die easily frozen, because we wouldn't know how to warm ourselves, keep ourselves warm. Like in weather like today, we could easily kind of get frozen to death, When we were young, we don't know how to speak. We can't even see. We cannot walk. We do not know even how to pee, go to the toilet. We don't know anything. We can't do anything by ourselves. We cannot do anything by ourselves at that point. And it is through our parent who did that, everything, taking care of ourselves for so many years. And so therefore, because of that kind of strong bond, even though maybe our relations have changed later because of certain events, because of certain things, but we cannot kind of ignore, or we cannot pretend their kindness and their support, especially when we were very, very young, when we were unable to take care of ourselves. And so anyway, so because of that strong, because that strong connection, karmic connections, and that kind of strong, their kindness of that, so killing them is much more negative karma than killing another sentient beings. Stronger negative karma. than another sentient beings. Harming them is much more stronger than harming another ordinary sentient beings. On the other hand, supporting them and helping them is much more positive, much more positive karma than helping another ordinary beings. Because of that particular connections, strong karmic connections. Then in terms of the, in terms of the arhat, killing arhat, because of the objects, because it's very holy objects, someone, who have dedicated their life to their practice and who have achieved that kind of high realization. So therefore, if you hurt that person's, if you harm them, if you kill them, is much more stronger negative karma than killing another ordinary beings. In these cases, it's not because of our strong karmic connection and their kindness, but it's because of their qualities, because of their spiritual qualities, because of their realizations. Due to that, then, when we engage, when you create any action, whether it's negative or positive, in relation to such object, it's much more stronger, much more bigger. And then, creating disunity and disharmony and division in the Sangha, that is also very strong negative karma. And in many of the scriptures, some of them says, it's such a negative karma, like if this area is an area where there's a strong, any Sangha, or even area where the Sangha is, when there is a strong divisions and disharmony, it makes very difficult for practitioner to cultivate any realization in those areas. That is how much strong negative energy and pollution it is on a spiritual level. Yeah, there are many great practitioners who have experienced that themselves. When they go to a certain area and when they try to meditate and they find they struggle with the meditations, the meditation not so good. They find difficult with the meditations and they wonder why. And later they found out that there has been a strong, divisions and disunity of sanghas in that area. So there are many stories of that, That is how it's not only just, the imprint of that, the impact of that disunity not only affect the people who are there, the Sangha themselves, but even future generations. Even the future generations. That is how bad, how strong negative karma it is. It's not just, of course, there's no doubt when there's a unity, there is a lot of, pain, suffering among the Sangha, because, as a Sangha, you are the families, as you are one family, one community, and now when you started to have division among your own families, Dharma brothers and sisters, of course, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of sufferings who are involved in that Dharma as a Sangha, but not only them, even who are not there directly, in the futures, even in those who come in that center, that area, also that energy from that affect them in their Dharma spiritual practice. And so such is how strong negative it is. So again, we have to be very, very careful, very careful. Of course, we all have, sometimes we have differences, there's no doubt. when we have Sangha members, because it's a lot of people, even just two people, we have differences, isn't it? Whether it's two partners, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, even with a parent and children, as long as there are two people, there is always going to be different views, different ideas. And so when there is a bigger communities as Sangha, there are a lot of people and everyone has different view. Different people have different view, ideas. Different people have different personalities, different personalities. And sometimes, we get alone with certain personality, and sometimes some people struggle with certain personalities because they have, sometimes, some people have certain, their upbringing, they have certain difficulty with some things. And when they see certain person that had personality similar, that it triggered them, it triggered them, their old experiences, old traumas. And so therefore they started to have kind of, they don't feel so comfortable and so close because of that kind of, so, there's a clashes of personality sometimes, and that on the basis of that, we shouldn't create any kind of divisions among that, taking side on each other's. If two Sangha members have difficulty, then, trying to take side on each other's and then create the divisions is absolutely, very bad, negative karma, And Buddha emphasized very strongly, the key to the success of spiritual realization is to have a harmony among the Sangha members, among the community. The key to find a peace and happiness is to have harmony, And so we all have to try to create harmony. We will have some disagreement, conflict with individual, but we shouldn't let that to create kind of, disharmony among the whole community, the Sangha itself. Is such a strong negative karma. And the strong impact or negative impact, suffering and pain it brings to the whole Sangha, So, and of course, you cannot kill a Buddha, but trying to wound Buddha again is a strong negative karma because of the object is an enlightened being, So so that is also, so engaging in that is very strong negative karma. So anyway, so I think maybe today so any questions, any comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, please.
I'm only getting 4 here of the 5. I'm getting the parent, the arhat, the dividing the Sangha, and the wounding the Buddha. But I'm not getting
father and mother.
Oh, father and mother. That's 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a list of the dedication. Should we should I read that now, Geshe-la?
Yeah, you can read that.
Okay. For obstacles, we have Alyssa and Laura. For illness, we have Jane Braswell, Michael Malone, Uma, Ralph C., Dorcas, Judy L., Susan P., Kathy N., a young woman with a brain cancer, Jimenez mother, Leonard P., Ben Ray Lujan, Roger Montoya, Catherine, Leonard Peltier, and Jim Bailey. And under death, we have Steve Citrullo, Cranberry the cat, Michael Kierce, Virgel Gomez, Pete Nahan, Jason, Rowena, and Corky Hawk.
Okay. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel Bodhisattva that is not arising, arise and grow. And may that which arises not diminish, but increase more and more. Jigden kamde pende malu ba kangle chungwe sambe yeshe no kadin chungme tenzin jaso la so wa deso tuje lundo sho. Tu tu chang shin chang gen jia we ten zin zhong pe we kun su to ho zi cho song ku we le mo tu tu pa da so du je guen du sha pen sho. Whenever one to you whose kindness exists for that of concur for those who wander in far off places, especially with mindful of your loving concern for us in intention and descending again. In the family of far distant land, we make this request, O Lama, please live long. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.